in the letter to the police commissioner, there was security concerns of importance listed. Were you able to raise those? What are those, and what assurances were you given?
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank the commissioner for the meeting this morning. As you're aware, we wrote the commissioner requesting this meeting to deal with a number of concerns we would have had and still have in relation to what is happening in our country. The first thing has to do with social media and some amount of mainstream media, where there are persons who are making racially hostile statements, trying to divide our society, trying to incite people. So we raised this issue with the commissioner, and we asked the commissioner what systems are in place and to deal with this, to ensure that there is monitoring and to ensure that action is taken against such persons. So the commissioner responded that he has systems in place. They're actively monitoring what is happening, and they have compiled a list of breaches, and they have sent that list for legal advice in relation to the statements that are made on social media, inciting people and so on. And we further requested to have a contact that we can also share such information with, to help the process of identifying those risk factors and those who are bent on creating mischief in our society and dividing our people along racial lines. That was the first issue. The second issue has to do with the safeguarding and securing of state assets, documents, fixed assets. You would recall that in 2015, there were police officers stationed at every ministry and department whilst the transition was taking place. So we raised this with the commissioner. As you're aware, there's lots of news and photographs circulating on documents and assets being moved, and we have asked him to ensure that he look at this and ensure that systems are in place to secure state assets and documents. The commissioner assured us that systems will be put in place to do justice. The third issue is how do we deal with any eventuality after the declaration, because there have been many threats, many statements on social media, and the commissioner has assured us that they're actively monitoring the situation, they're gathering intelligence, they're securing information to deal with any such threat if it arises.
Do you have any instances you wish to share about these threats that are on social media? Any particular instance you would care to identify?
No, I would not want to identify those threats. No, the police, they have compiled a list, and they have, and he said they're acting on that list. The list has been sent for legal advice. So I don't think I need to go over that. But if you go through social media now, the funny thing is that a lot of these persons who are doing this, trying to divide people racially, are those living outside of Guyana and who have no interest in coming back here, but it seems bent on creating mischief. And I think it is time the force deal with these persons in a condign manner.
How do you balance that concern with freedom of expression?
Of course, we support freedom of expression, and this was raised with the commissioner, that we want, we don't want any Guyanese to be denied freedom of expression. It's a constitutional right, it's a fundamental right. But the freedom of expression does not mean spreading hate and making racist statements and trying to divide our people, creating mischief and division in our country. That is not freedom of expression. That is trying to destroy the fabric of our society and create havoc in our country.
Did your delegation raise any concern about the lists of people that were provided as not being out of the country?
We have already raised those issues publicly. We have already.
No,
that wasn't raised at this meeting. But we addressed the issue. We addressed the issue, the propaganda of that is being spread about the disciplinary services votes, members of the joint services, that their votes were not counted and were not stamped. So we addressed that issue. In relation to the issue you would have raised, we have already made our position public on that. And from the list the commissioner submitted, many Guyanese have already came forward in relation to their existence. So I think that matter is a separate matter.
But why not challenge him on some of the names that his office would have supplied?
We have already did that publicly, and the persons themselves have done it by coming. Persons themselves have done this by coming forward, both on social media and affidavits. It's out there.
But Mr. Ali, even though those persons came forward, the police commissioner maintained and he stood by his list. Why didn't you challenge him in person, face to face, that you had this meeting with him about what he said?
Party had asked for him to withdraw the list.
We did not raise that issue. That is a separate issue. And the commission, we have already made our position public on this. It wasn't an issue that we had to raise with the commissioner. The commissioner has put forward a list. His list has been challenged by the people themselves. Persons are presenting themselves. His list has been shown to be flawed, and the commissioner has a view. We have a view, and the people have a view.
Mr. Ali, are you fearful for your safety in the coming days? Is that one of the priorities?
I'm not fearful. I'm not a fearful person. I fear God. That is it, and that's all. I fear God. But let me say this: that I want the best for our country, and I want to ensure that the security forces have everything in place to protect the people of our country, to protect the assets, to protect assets of individuals, and to protect the streets of our country. That is all.
What assurances did you get from the police commissioner about safeguarding state assets? What did he say exactly in terms of?
He said that he gave full assurance that he's going to put a system in place to have this done. And we reminded him of the 2015 scenario where officers were placed at the different ministry, and he assured that he's going to look into this.
Did you share with him any information you may have about unrest leading up to and after the declaration?
We shared with him in a general manner the information. He said that they're gathering intelligence too. They're reviewing information that they have also.
Of course, this whole question of the people who were said to have been out of the country during election day and so on is still up in the air.
I don't think it's up in the air. I think that it's very clear. The commissioner submitted a list. First of all, you can't determine who voted. You can't determine who voted on the list. That's the first thing. The second thing is that the commissioner submitted a list, and that list was challenged by many Guyanese. So the list is flawed. The commissioner, I think, then went on to make a statement that he can't account for persons who may have moved legally or illegal. That's another issue. But the issue is the list was challenged, and the list has been deemed to be flawed. The commissioner list itself. So he has to look at his database too. His information system might be flawed, and that's a serious concern. That's something serious we have to look at.
Do you think he should be retained as police commissioner if and when your government takes office?
We are not in a witch hunting exercise. We are not in any witch hunting exercise. Let me make that very clear. We are going to act professionally. The commissioner has assured us that he and his team would continue to act professionally. They would act professionally. We hold the commissioner to his commitment. But we are not in a witch hunting exercise about firing people and so on. That is not. We are moving forward in this country, in building a strong country, a country that is inclusive, that a country that is tolerant of different ideas and different views, and a country in which all Guyanese must be proud of. That is what I'm looking forward to. Thank you.
The recount shows that the PUP has emerged with the most votes. Do you have an idea as to what your cabinet will look like if you're sworn into office?
These are things that we have been discussing, and we have many ideas. We have the ideas of what the future of the country, the immediate task ahead, but those are things we'll discuss later at the relevant time.
You just don't wish to share with us at this time?
At the relevant time, I'll be more than happy to share with you. I think the media has an important role to play, and you will find in me someone who will facilitate regular discussion with the media to keep the public informed too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ali. Now we will
Just make it clear that if you could read read Article 177 2B of the Constitution, please look at that. And you will see that Irfaan Ali, it says that once it's established that one list has more numbers than the other list, the head of that list, the presidential candidate on the list that has the majority vote, is deemed the president of Guyana, is deemed, and that the chair of GCOM shall declare him as president. So Article 177 2B of our Constitution is quite clear. It has been established now that the list, the PPP's list, has the most votes, and therefore Irfaan Ali is already deemed the president of Guyana. It's awaiting that section of the Constitution which says that the chair of GCOM shall now declare him. So, as far as we're concerned, all of the shenanigans that are going on now to prevent that declaration, it's not going to work, because that's the supreme law of the country. And I would want to urge the media to look at it.
I'm trying to get, is there any particular reason the list that the police commissioner had shared with GCOM about this immigration, the people, wasn't raised by
Yeah,
the
we did not want this to seem as though we are trying to deal with elections related matter that are before the commission and everything else. So that was a simple reason we did not want to raise that matter, so that APNU will then come and say, had we raised that issue, that we were trying to influence the Commissioner of Police to withdraw his list. It's already been established in the public domain that the list is horrendously flawed. We don't need to do much more.
Let me just get your comment quickly on something that's in the public arena. Guy Suko's letter and the fact that there can be out of money. How can this be dealt with?
Well, we're hoping, well, I don't know how this government, well, President Granger, where de facto government will deal with it. That is why we need the declaration very early so we can address these issues.
But
it's a crucial.
Your thoughts on going forward?
You have to deal with it one way or another. And you think this is the only issue? There are several other issues. We have to look at whether Marriott has been able, because of COVID, to service its loan. We have to look at the reserve position. We have to look at the collapse in revenue, state revenue so far. There are tons of issues that have to be addressed that could right now, from all I'm hearing, we're practically bankrupt as a country. The revenue has collapsed, and we don't have the same level of exports that we had. So the export earnings are falling, and many of the institutions have gone into financial crisis. They run out of money simply.
Would you recommend a bailout at this time?
That will come next week when Irfaan is formally sworn in.
And my final question, is there a place for you and the Irfaan Ali government as an active politician?
That will you see next week. If there is, there will be no surprise. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.